Yo, what's good, everybody? Matt Heiniger here, coming to you with a kind of a New York sports recap. It's a perfect time here in 2013 as we are now halfway through the NFL season and the NBA season is upon us this week, which is, crazy to think about. Feels like just yesterday we were watching that epic Game 7 between Miami and San Antonio, and thankfully now the NBA is back. Has a short off season, so good for all of us here as we get ready for our Knicks and our upstart Brooklyn Nets. But we're going to go with the football first just because it's so recent after yesterday. And I'm here to tell you that while the Jets just got destroyed 49-9, they're fine. And I'm here to tell you that even though the Giants won their second in a row, 15-7 over Philly, they're still completely awful with no chance of the playoffs and no chance winning a division. And I'm sitting here looking at everyone's like, oh, 2 games back. Does everybody realize that the Giants are still the same awful football team that they were when they were 0-6? Like, have you watched these games? Have you watched the Giants the last 2 wins? The only reason the Giants have won the last 2 games, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. They played against Josh Freeman, who was on the Vikings for 5 minutes and knew none of the playbook and couldn't do anything. And then they played a third-string quarterback in rookie Matt Barkley. So, I mean, yeah, they got wins. Yeah, like, good for you. But the Giants still can't run the ball. Still have maybe the worst running game. I tweeted this yesterday. Maybe the worst running game I've ever seen on an NFL football team. Their defense is still They don't really rush the passer. They're making a couple more plays against the run, against Adrian Peterson and LaShawn McCoy. That's the one little positive I would take out of it. But any Giants fan that's saying, oh, they're 2-6 and, they're only 2 games back, the Giants, I got a newsflash for you, are not half as good as Dallas. Yeah, Dallas, they're 4-4. I know they've had some collapses here. But the Cowboys lost in the final seconds to an 8-0 Chiefs team, a 7-1 Broncos team, and yesterday they blew it against Detroit, another good team. So let's not pretend that the Giants are anywhere close to as good as Dallas. Dallas is 2 games better than the Giants right now. They beat the Giants already. And when the Giants get out of this bye week, all right, they play the Raiders, which actually isn't a layup. But if they beat the Raiders, which I don't even know they can do, I could easily see Terrell Pryor and company coming into the Meadowlands and beating the Giants. Then the Giants got to go play teams like Green Bay, Detroit. They got to play Washington again twice. So I think Washington could be better than the Giants as well. So this little fantasy that Giants fans have as they go into the bye week, that a 2-6 team like them can somehow get back in the race in the division, even though the NFC East is weak, let's be honest. You're kidding yourselves. The team sucks. They haven't done anything differently. They've just gotten right place, right time with 2 franchises that were in about as bad a situation as you can be. 2 franchises in the Vikings and Eagles who were completely disoriented at quarterback, and the Giants were just there to, pick up the pieces. So let's not get crazy. The Giants are still awful. They're still awful. They haven't done anything to show, any football fan, including Giants fans, that they're turning it around or anything like that. They are still awful. I mean, call me a hater. I really don't care. Watch the games. They suck. They can't do anything right. They're not a good football team. Once they start playing against, even average quarterbacks, I mean, this is going to go right back to what it was, an 0-6 team that, can't do anything right. So that wraps it up with the Giants. As far as the Jets, I mean, yeah, they lost 49-9 yesterday, and you would think that, I'd be upset, but what do you want me to do? I knew the Jets would not win yesterday, in Cincinnati. So they got blown out. Yeah, getting blown out is awful, sure. But when you look at the big picture, the Jets are 4-4 right now, and they're still in great position for that second wild card in the AFC. I mean, let's assume that, between Kansas City and Denver, one will win the West, the other will get the wild card. That leaves the second wild card spot between here's who's going to be your wild card, your second wild card in the AFC. It's going to be the Jets, going to be the Dolphins, the Ravens, or the Chargers. None of those teams are world beaters. Miami's lost 4 in a row. The Ravens are 3-4. And San Diego, while they've had some nice wins, against like the Colts, I don't know. Phillip Rivers in the big spot, Chargers in the big spot. I could see them fading down the stretch. And, I'm a Jets fan. Here's what I'm looking at. All right, they're going to lose against New Orleans, and they're going to go into the bye week at 4-5. They come out of the bye week, and they're going to play the Bills. Then they're going to play the Ravens. Then they have a couple games in the middle against teams like the Raiders and Browns. And then they got Miami twice in December. So the Jets they're in fine position. They control their own fate here. And, even just the thought of them contending for the playoffs is impressive. So, considering before the season, ESPN had them 32nd in the power rankings. Team, everyone thought they'd, be 2-14. So the Jets, I think they're going to be there. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs. I don't expect them to make the playoffs. But they're going to be playing meaningful games in December. I think they're going to be an 8-8 football team, maybe 9-7 if things break their way. That's going to be right there contending at the end. So, yeah, they lost 49-9. But let's be honest, the Bengals are good. They might have the best roster in the NFL, top to bottom. You look at all things considered. Now, the Jets have some problems. D. Milliner needs to get out of the lineup. The guy's simply not ready. Cromartie, after his all-pro season last year, has been not even half as good, which is very concerning. But the front seven's great, Richardson, Wilkerson, Copels, Harrison, those boys, they've been doing a great job. And Geno, yeah, he's up and down, but let's be honest, he has nobody to throw the ball to. You watch these Jet games, there's no separation, there's nothing of that sort. So, I'm not going to be too hard on Geno. You watch the guy play, watch some of the throws he makes. This guy's a franchise quarterback, which I'm surprised, because I didn't know he had this kind of talent when I watched him in college. So, good job by Geno and the Jets, 4-4. It's, not a big deal getting off that blowout loss. So, put up a fight against the Saints. You're not going to beat the Saints, let's be honest. Go into the bye week 4-5, come out of the bye, get some wins together, and, be playing meaningful games this December. That's all you can ask for. So, in the New York media today, Jets are a train wreck because they got blown out. Giants are on the way back. It's completely ass backwards. The Giants are still awful, and the Jets are fine. That's my thoughts on the situation. So we'll watch it play out. Get back to me in 3 weeks when, the Jets are still in the playoff race and the Giants are, officially dead, which I think they are now. But, it's going to take, I guess it's going to take 1 or 2 more losses for the rest of New York to realize that the Giants here in 2013 are just an awful football team that's going to have, a top 6 or 7, pick in the NFL draft. So we'll see what happens, but that's the analysis halfway through the year, and that's what's going to happen going forward. Giants suck. Jets are on their way to a meaningful December. Now, turning to the NBA, which is very exciting because, let's be honest, we think we got good things here in New York with the Knicks and the Nets. Now, it's funny because I'm going to start out with the Knicks because I am just stunned at the lack of respect for the New York Knicks coming into this season. Everyone just assuming that they're going to be the number 5 seed and out in the first round of the playoffs. Which is funny because last year everyone assumed the Knicks would be a 7 or 8 seed and be out in the first round of the playoffs. They ended up, finishing number 2 overall and going to the second round. So when I look at the Knicks, here's my thing. Here's where you got to give the Knicks a lot of credit. All right, so last year didn't work out, but they still got to Game 6 against Indiana, made a run, made that a great game. We all remember Hibbert blocking Melo at the end. That kind of changed the game. Give Hibbert credit. He's a great player. But, the Knicks were right there in Game 6. They win that game. Somehow, Game 7's at the Garden, and who knows what happens. I'm looking at a New York Knicks team that last year blew out the Miami Heat 3 times. Blew them out in the Garden, blew them out in Miami without Melo, and then blew them out again late in the year. So, and don't tell me it's just regular season, because if you've watched the Heat Big 3 against the Knicks in the era, the Heat always go big time against the Knicks. Wade, LeBron, and Bosh love beating down on the Knicks. So don't tell me it was like, Miami Heat didn't look at that game like they were playing the Charlotte Bobcats. They wanted to beat down the Knicks, and they couldn't do it. So the Knicks match up well with Miami. And what I was getting back to, what I was first saying, is the Knicks, considering their salary cap situation, they deserve a ton of credit. They were able to improve the team, even with that little space, and even with not that much space in salary cap room. And people don't seem to recognize that. Andrea Bargnani, is he soft? Yeah, he can't rebound. Yeah, okay, whatever, I get it. But the guy can score. The guy can be effective on the Knicks' second team, let's be honest. When you look at the Knicks, a lot of times, which was unfortunate, it would come down to, Melo and J.R. Smith, having to make shots. Now you take Bargnani out there and add him to the mix. He's a good player. He's no pushover here. So he can come in and make some shots. Yeah, add Meta World Peace to bring some toughness and some defense to the team. Yeah, is he a hothead? Yeah, he's not the player he once was. We're not stupid, but he's a guy who can come in and lock down, play against some threes and fours and whatnot, and be good, be solid for you. So I like that move as well. And then you also think about Amon Shumpert, a rising star, coming off. It'll be his second year now, coming off that ACL injury. So you would only hope that he's better. And also I almost forgot. I mean, them adding, Tim Hardaway in the draft, another good move. A guy who was a seasoned veteran in college, played played 3 years at Michigan, and he can score as well. So when J.R. Smith is, going 1 for 7 or 1 for 8, you can take him out because you have options now. You can just put in a Bargnani. You can put in a Tim Hardaway Jr. and let them go make shots. You add that to Melo, and Prigioni's a good point guard. He should get more minutes, and I think he will. Raymond Felton, solid point guard. Knicks fans, we all kind of like him. Kenyon Martin's back. Hopefully he can stay healthy and spell Tyson Chandler. And Chandler has a lot to prove this year because he got embarrassed last year. He knows that. We know that. The NBA knows that in his matchup against Roy Hibbert. So he has something to prove. Amari Stoudemire, yeah, it's sad watching him like this at this point, but maybe he can give you something, coming off the bench, who knows. But the problem with him is he's going to play 7 games and he's going to get hurt. But, Amari, whatever you can get out of him, you take that as a positive. So this Knicks team is deep. I mean, they got a solid, solid 10 players that can contribute to this basketball club. So I'm good with the Knicks, man. I think the Knicks are going to find a way. I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to say which of the, quote unquote big 4 in the East will be the ones to stumble. But lock this up now, this prediction. The Knicks will find a way to finish in the top 4 seeds in the East and be home in that first round of the playoffs. They're going to figure out a way. Maybe it's Chicago. Maybe Derrick Rose is hurt, even though I like the Bulls a lot. Maybe the Pacers. Granger coming back. That hurts Paul George. I don't know. And the Knicks did well against the Pacers in the regular season last year. Maybe they can repeat that this year. We'll see. And also, obviously, there's the Brooklyn Nets, who I'm going to get to now. A team that, on paper, you look at them and you just go, oof. Joe Johnson, Darren Williams, Brook Lopez, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and a solid bench. A bench that, Jason Terry and the Russian, whatever, I'm forgetting his name right now. But they've added a solid roster as well. But the thing with the Nets is that, and I don't know how this is going to work out. I mean, a rookie coach, Jason Kidd, a guy who was, he was on the Knicks last year. He was, on the Knicks bench. And now he's the coach of a team that, let's be honest, is win or lose. That's it. It's all about winning. They're all in. They have to win the title this year or next. And I give them credit because the NBA, is a win now league. And the Nets are going all in. So you got to give them credit. But, oof. I'm in a big game. Let me think here. So it's a big game, right? Playoff game, whatever. Jason Kidd, a guy who's never coached before, is going to come up with a plan to outcoach some of the great minds in the Eastern Conference. In a Spoelstra, in a Woodson, in someone like that. How is this going to work? I don't understand how. This is like taking a guy who's never had a license before and putting him in a Ferrari and saying, go do it. I don't know how I feel about that. If I was a Nets fan, I'd be very concerned. I would have wanted a more experienced head coach. This hire seemed like a publicity hire on the Nets' part, because everybody loves Jason Kidd, historic player with the Nets, historic player in general, future Hall of Famer, one of the best point guards of all time. Who made the decision to make him a head coach of this team? Now, thankfully, he has Lawrence Frank to be his assistant head coach, but still, I'd have my reservations. And we're going to have to see also, on the court, how the Nets are going to gel. It's one ball for a lot of guys who want to score the ball, and Paul Pierce, Garnett, Joe Johnson, Darren Williams, Brook Lopez. Those guys are going to have to figure out a way to balance each other out and to make it work. And they might struggle early. Would not be surprised if they struggled early. The Heat struggled early. The Lakers struggled all year with their quote-unquote big 3. So we're going to see how the Nets do. But it's, all or nothing for them. They got to win the title. I just don't know if they can do it. I have my doubts. An older team that, they're going to have to find a way to manage their minutes. It's going to be huge. Because they do have they have a deep roster as well. Karolinko, I know I forgot his name before. I like Reggie Evans a lot. He adds toughness. Jason Terry, I know I mentioned him. So they got players, and they're just going to have to figure it out. But I just don't know how a head coach who's never done it before is going to figure that out. All right, so that's going to wrap up my quick little take here on the NFL and NBA in New York. To recap, Jets and Knicks, stock up. Giants and Nets, stock down. So we'll see what happens from here. But here's my little daily prediction. Hopefully it works out in your favor. This is Matt Heiniger coming to you with a spontaneous New York sports podcast. Until next time.